Thank you all for joining the webinar, and I'd like to introduce our two presenters for today, Maria Knight and Rachel Factor. Maria Knight is Director of Online Strategy and Operations for RBFF. She's responsible for developing and implementing online strategies, ensuring alignment with business goals while meeting the needs of our key audiences. In this role, she manages, tracks, and reports on user activity across all digital mediums to inform decision-making and course correction. After Maria presents, we'll hear from Rachel Factor. Rachel is a certified Google Analytics professional with over 10 years experience working with web and app data for clients such as Rite Aid, Twitter, Panasonic, McCormick, and Lowe's. She manages Brandt's Google Analytics dashboards and Google Tag Manager for their state licensing systems. With her help, Brandt has been able to provide more detailed user and e-commerce data to make informed decisions regarding user experience and marketing campaigns. Now, without further ado, I'd like to turn it over to Maria Knight.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Maria Knight with RBFF. Let's get started. Businesses that want to better understand their audience and strengthen their marketing strategy need to know how to best utilize web analytics to release the power they offer. Without analyzing your website traffic, it'll be difficult to fully assess the effectiveness of your marketing strategy. To this point, during the webinar today, we'll be reviewing the following topics. What are website analytics? What information do they provide? Why are analytics important? What should be measured? And then we'll look at an application for fishing license purchase sites. So let's look at what website analytics are. If you're not familiar with website analytics, it can be a little daunting at first, but basically it's the measurement, analysis, and reporting of website activity in order to understand and optimize its effectiveness. So we'll look at things like who visits your website, how and when those visitors got there, what they did once they were on your site, and where they went afterward. There are many different tools that offer analytics tracking and reporting. However, the granddaddy of them all is Google Analytics. It's arguably the simplest and most robust analytics offering. It's by far the most popular free analytics tool, and it's used on more than half of the top 1 million websites in the world. Here at RBFF, we use Google Analytics for our online properties. And so for most of the examples and reporting you'll see today, they'll be from Google Analytics. Now let's focus on helping you understand the types of data that are available and review at a high level how that data can be used to enhance your marketing and business development strategies. We'll start with traffic drivers. These are the sources and channels that your visitors come from to your website. Direct traffic are visitors who come by literally typing in your URL in their browser. It's a pretty strong indicator of the strength of your brand. With organic search, these are visitors who get to the site when they click on a link from search engine results. So if they visit Google or Bing and type in a word and your website appears in the listings, that's what organic search is. With paid search, these are visitors who get to the site by clicking a paid search ad. So if you're on Google, usually the top 3 listings once you enter a search are paid ads, and so that's referred to as the paid search. And then we have referrals, visitors who come from other websites that are linking to yours, and kind of a subset of referrals, we'll see social media traffic those that come from links on Facebook or Twitter, and email. So analyzing the different channels that drive traffic to your site will help you decide which efforts to focus on and potentially spark ideas for increasing traffic from your preferred channels. With analytics, you also have the power to gain insights about who your visitors are. The data that you can get includes, of course, how many visitors are coming to your site, demographic information like how old your visitors are, whether they're male or female, where they're coming from. You'll be able to determine whether they're new or returning visitors to your site, what their interests are, or how often they visit the site, and even the kind of technology you're using. So are they coming via their desktop computers or on a mobile device? Are they using IE or Firefox? You can use this information for creating user profiles and developing strategies for targeting purposes, and also to develop the kind of content, what kind of content to provide them with. Understanding who's visiting your site in terms of demographic information like age and gender will also allow you to tailor your site to suit their interests and preferences. So for example, if you're trying to target moms, you can use this type of information to create content and imagery that appeases to women with children. With regard to site activity, website analytics can provide information about how people are interacting with your site. So you can study how visitors are actually moving through your site, the path that they're following from page to page. You can even get more detailed with something called event tracking that actually lets you track actions that a user takes within a page itself. So for example, if your site offers a lot of PDFs to download, you could set up special tracking where you can actually see what PDFs are being downloaded and how often they're being downloaded. Again, when you start to understand how visitors interact with their site, you'll be able to create more of the content that they'll find most valuable and relevant. You'll gain insights that will help you present that content to them in a manner that helps you achieve your business goals. So let's look at why analytics are important. How will the information you get from analytics help your business? Website analytics provide you with extremely helpful data, which, if interpreted correctly and acted upon, could mean great improvements to the performance of your website. You can use them in a way to kind of measure the vitals of your site, the pulse, temperature, and blood pressure, to help determine whether your site is healthy or not. So for example, has there been a sudden drop in traffic? If so, that could alert you to issues. You can use it to determine broken links on your site. How well does your site retain its visitors? What are the top pages, the top performers? How is your site performing against your actual goals? And what terms are visitors entering into your site search? Because that can help you identify maybe content that's buried or new content to add. These are the kinds of things that can be looked at regularly within your analytics tool to ensure good and healthy performance. First impressions last, and your website visitors will literally judge your business within the first few seconds of their visit. That's why it's extremely important to think about design and aesthetics for your website, and you can use analytics to help you with that. So are users reaching key content areas and converting? What devices does your site perform better with? For example, if you're touting that you have a mobile-friendly site, but when you look at the reporting and it shows that engagement with mobile devices is not good, that will help you think through maybe some design changes that you'll need to make. What browsers are your site visitors using? You want to make sure that your site looks good in those browsers. Which pages show the highest exit rate? It might mean that the presentation of the content or the calls to action on those pages needs some work. So this is the type of information you'll be able to obtain to help you make educated design changes to your site based on actual data as opposed to hypothesized ideas or opinions. So when thinking about design, you want to pay attention to issues that could be preventing your visitors from viewing certain pages or the site itself, issues affecting a large proportion of your audience, issues on product pages. These pages should be designed clearly to enable your visitors to complete the conversions quickly and efficiently. And if they're not, it could be because there's too much content or because your calls to action aren't prominent. And then lastly, issues that prevent your visitors from filling out forms or completing other conversions on their path to becoming a customer. In evaluating partner referrals, you'll want to look at not only how much total traffic other sites are driving, but also how effectively that traffic is adding to engagement and conversions on your site. You want to identify high-performing referring sites on which to focus future efforts. And you can also look at this information to determine how successfully you're driving referrals to your partners. Lastly, analytics are particularly important when it comes to evaluating the effectiveness of your campaigns coming from the different channels. And it's not just about looking at the quantity of traffic that's coming to your website, but it's important to evaluate the quality of the audience that's coming. So you'll want to determine which channels are the top performers that are driving to your website. So paid search, social media, organic, how much traffic are they driving? That's the quantity side. But then when you look at the conversions that are occurring within those channels, that's where you can determine quality, the quality of the visitors who are coming, and it can help you to justify your spending in those channels. And then you can even dig down deeper to look at the specific campaigns. For example, if you have a social media marketing strategy, the campaigns on Facebook versus Twitter, how good are they performing? If one's performing better than the other, is the messaging different? Those are the kinds of things that analytics can help you look at. And then, of course, looking at the landing pages and assessing those is important to see what's most successful. Now we're going to look at which metrics should be monitored within your analytics tool. You'll find that there's seemingly endless metrics available to use. In fact, the amount of data that some of these tools can provide you can become overwhelming. However, we'll review some basic metrics that are the foundation upon which you can begin to build and leverage good insights and reporting for assessing your online presence. So users or unique visitors are the number of unduplicated visitors to your website over a specific time period. Sessions are the number of times these visitors actively engaged on your website. Page views, the number of pages people visited on your website. So for example, a visitor can come and during his one session could have visited 3, 4, 10 pages on your website. Bounce rate is the percentage of people who immediately leave your website from the page that they entered on and had no interaction on that page. Average session duration is the average length of time that your visitor spent during the session on the website. And then pages per visit are the average number of pages viewed during a session. Traffic sources we touched base on earlier, and these are the channels that are driving traffic to your site. And then conversion rate is the percentage of visitors who achieved a goal. So if you had a form that you wanted to be completed, or a newsletter that you want people to subscribe to, these are conversions. Now we'll get to see what these metrics look like in an actual report. So here you'll see a snapshot of a TakeMeFishing.org report from earlier this year. The site, according to this report, the site garnered more than 800,000 sessions by 660,000 users or unique visitors, for which 78% of them were brand new visitors. During those 800,000 sessions, almost 1.3 million page views were had across the site. The average bounce rate was 55%. Users visited an average of 1.5 pages per session and stayed on the site for an average of 1 minute and 18 seconds. Once you have a report like this, you'll then want to begin comparing these numbers to the previous month and also to even the same month the previous year, because it starts to tell a story. For example, looking at this over time, you'll start to see what times of year you have the heaviest traffic, and you can try to map that to the times of year you have campaigns in the market. If we look at how some of these basic metrics apply across the different channels driving traffic to TakeMeFishing, we can see that organic search had the highest number of sessions, but that paid search actually had the highest conversion rates. Users coming in through direct and referral channels tend to stay on the site longer, but not as long as those who came in through email. More stories start to be told here, ones that can help you determine where site improvements are needed and or whether new or revised marketing strategies to achieve your campaign goals should be considered. That's the power of website analytics. So when you think about how to create an analytics plan, you'll want to set goals and objectives, establish key performance indicators to measure performance against those goals, And it could be using those basic metrics that we just reviewed to start. You'll want to create a strategy that includes, how traffic is being driven to your site, what that traffic actually does while they're on your site, and then, of course, the conversions based on the different things you want your audience to do while they're on your site. And of course, you'll want to set up regular reporting, whether it's monthly, quarterly, annually. These are things that you'll definitely want to assess. And the reporting can be refined and filtered. You can look at some of the basic metrics by device, what's mobile doing versus desktop or tablet, or by channels like we just reviewed earlier. And then, of course, with the demographic information, you can also start to create reporting that generates a profile of your audience. And then all of that will help you discover and alleviate issues with the site itself, and then also give you ways that you can adjust your strategy to make your goals, achieving those goals, even better. Now that we've gone through the basics for analytics and have a good idea of the data that's available and what it means, we're going to look at how analytics were leveraged to determine the effectiveness of RBFF's state licensed referral program with some of our state partners. As many of you already know, RBFF actively drives referrals to state sites for boat registrations and fishing licenses as part of our online strategy to meet our mission for increasing participation in the sport. This report here gives us the number of referrals by state for both of these areas. Now this is, here you'll see Ohio is in #1 position for fishing licenses, where Wisconsin in this screen right here is #1 for boat registration referrals. Now this is great information, and of course we want to drive as much traffic as possible. However, once these users actually leave TakeMeFishing.org to go to the state sites, we have no way of knowing if any of them or how many of them actually resulted in actual registration or license purchases. So over the last year and a half, we've begun to partner with a few states who agreed to help us assess the traffic we're driving to them and evaluate their path to purchase completion using analytics. So here we'll look at Michigan. Just for reference, this shows some screenshots of the landing page and the product page for Michigan's fishing license purchase system. Working together, we were able to set up reporting to evaluate how the referrals from TakeMeFishing.org perform once those users got to this site. Now, Michigan actually uses IBM as their analytics tool, but basic metrics are the same. So we were able to work with them to create this report, and through their tool they could filter that reporting so that it just shows the traffic that came from TakeMeFishing.org. Also, on their product pages, they were able to apply that special event tracking so that they could track the actions users take within those product pages for the different licensed products. So here you'll see that June of last year, we sent over 2,000 users to their site. The average session on their site was over 6 minutes, had a bounce rate of 32%. You'll also see that majority of the traffic we sent to them were new visitors, which makes sense because RBFF targets newcomers to the sport. And you'll also see that it wasn't just people that lived in Michigan that we were sending to them. So they had a lot of out of or non-residents that we were sending to their site for licenses. So these are kind of some of the basic metrics that we reviewed, but because of their additional tracking on their product pages, they were also able to show us the number of orders that our traffic made on their site. So 591 orders where over 900 items were ordered for a total sales of over $15,000. And again, because of their tracking, they could even break it down to see which products were purchased, so and whether it was residents or non-residents. We could also see here the difference in the devices that were used when we were sending these people. So those visitors who came in from mobile had the most, that was the channel with the most traffic, but actually desktop had the most sales. So this is the kind of information that you can see stories being told, and it can help to develop strategies to drive more traffic, to promote better engagement, and generate higher conversions within the license purchase process. And this same type of reporting can be applied for analyzing all traffic that comes to Michigan. It's not just it doesn't just have to be what TakeMeFishing.org is driving. Again, that's the power of website analytics. Now I'm going to turn it over to Rachel, who will talk through the robust analytics that Brant Information Services has put in place as a result of a similar referral tracking partnership we did with Florida last year. In fact, they were actually our very first partner to join us on this effort.
Thank you. So I'll be discussing the continual improvement through analytics that we at Brant have been trying to implement with several of our clients. I'm going to be walking you through some of the real-world reporting that we used to determine, what is doing better on the site, what we can improve on. Continual improvement really means, changing and testing things on an ongoing basis. It's very much a journey with a faraway destination in many cases, so we're constantly trying to improve the site for both the users who come to it and for our clients. Next slide, please. So this is the start of our monthly report that we send out for Florida. It has the KPIs that we've decided on through the measurement plan. So what's most important to us when we make changes to the site? Do we want to see sessions go up? Do we want to see conversions go up? And this shows that in a very easy to see dashboard. We use benchmarks like year-over-year metrics and month-over-month metrics, so we can measure, okay, how well are we doing this month compared to last month since we made a recent change, and how well are we doing this year versus last year. if we've made several changes over the course of the year. We really like engagement metrics, page views per visit, how deep someone got into the site, average session duration, how long they stayed on the site. If we see improvement in that, we know that the user has decided to stay longer on average, that they're more engaged in the site. And of course, conversion rates and conversions themselves, the revenue, is an indicator that we're bringing in more money to the site, more people who have decided to actually go through with a conversion, which is very important. We're also very interested in these graphs in the bottom so that we can see trending over time. It's really vital to be looking at not just this month versus last month or this year versus last year, but how have these metrics trended over time, so that we can continue improving on those. Next slide, please. This is some internal data that we use, mostly centered on how many donations have been made, how many hard cards have been ordered. We often compare our internal data with the data that's being collected in Google Analytics so that we can ensure that everything is being accurately collected. Look, next slide, please. And as Maria mentioned, one of the things that we're looking at is not just how many people came here, but how they got to the site, what device are they using, what browser are they using. It's really important, especially when it comes to reviewing if your site has been broken in some aspect. Oftentimes that happens only on desktop or only on tablet, or for some reason someone who comes through Safari isn't getting through the conversion path, the conversion funnel. Perhaps Safari is not working on in our checkout process, and so this is a good way to determine if there had been changes over the last month, if something had broken. This is a very easy way to pick out which browsers or devices might be affected. And we can also use this information to target users for ad campaigns. We partner with an agency in order to send out paid search ads, and we often deliver this information to them so that they can target towards more Chrome users or more Apple iPhone users. This is all available for targeting as well. Next slide, please. These are the demographics that we'll use. This is kind of what reporting would look like for the demographic data that's coming in through Google Analytics. Something that's very important to us is out-of-state users. So we've got a really nice visual on the top right here that shows everybody who has made a purchase outside of Florida. And you can kind of see the heat map is centered in the southeast, which is good information, and we can also do more targeting with that. And we see that users who are out of state are still very much valuable, and we shouldn't cut them off from our design elements. We shouldn't cut them off from our paid search efforts. We can also measure things like how much did women spend versus men on the site, different age brackets. Age brackets are all that are available in Google Analytics. We don't have specific ages for privacy reasons. And then some affinity interests. So, users may be interested in fishing and hunting, but what else are they interested in? What else can we do to the site to show that we, understand that there are other interests here? We're also targeting for these interests. So this information can be very useful. Next slide, please. Exit pages are also very important to us. They help us determine why people are leaving. If we know that there is a particular site that's having a very high exit rate this month, and maybe it was higher than last month, we can say, well, what was changed on this site? Is something broken? Did we move a button that interrupted the very obvious path to the next page? There's a lot of reasons why someone might be exiting at a high rate on a certain page, but this basically calls out to us. It says, hey, come fix this page. There might be something wrong with it. And we hope to see improvement of exit rates over time. Of course, there are some pages that they're meant to be exited from, like a thank you page after conversion, and we often leave those out of the reporting. Next slide, please. We also analyze referral success, so which channel sent us traffic. Did that channel improve over the last month or over the last year? If we're putting more money into an email campaign, if we're putting more money into an SEM campaign, is that, is the conversion rate for those channels improving, or is it staying flat? Do we need to re-examine our partner relationships based on a decreasing conversion rate or decreasing revenue? These are all questions we ask fairly regularly based off of this reporting. Next slide, please. So we left you with a lot of information today, and analytics is very complex, very complicated. There is so much data out there to be captured and analyzed. And so what can you do with all this information? And the first is to work with a vendor who's capable of providing these services. We're very capable. We've been working with a lot of really interesting data for several state agencies. But it's really important that if you don't feel confident diving into collection and analysis of all of this information on your website, that you reach out to someone who is capable. You want to understand what you want to track and why. Implementing a measurement plan, as Maria talked about earlier, is key to pursuing both collection and analyzation and reporting. You can't collect or know anything about your site until you've determined what's important to you. And of course, you should start right now. The more data you have, the better. If you start today, in a year, you'll have a year's worth of data, which is a lot of data to make decisions. So I really recommend starting as soon as possible. So that's it.
Great. Thank you very much, Rachel. We really appreciate it.